Hello again YouTube, and welcome back to Just Get a Tesla. Today I need to go and run some errands, and I thought it'd be fun to try and do as much of it as humanly possible on autopilot. So we're talking single carriageways, sweeping bends, some tight bends, town environments. Let's see how well autopilot copes. So we're coming out of my village and there's still no autopilot symbol showing on the screen, which is the little steering wheel. There it is. So I'm going to stick that on and let's go from here. So we're about to go into a 60 miles an hour limit. So the speed limit on the screen changes to 60 and it's only increased it to 34. Why has it done that? Let's just go with this and see what it does, because I am genuinely curious as to how this is actually going to work. So it's still showing 34, which is fine for going around that bend, I suppose, going really slowly, but that's ridiculous. Okay, we're going to push and hold the right-hand stalk now to get it to speed up to the speed limit. So it's now showing 60 and we're accelerating. Now, we can't actually go at 60 miles an hour around a lot of these bends, so it'll be interesting to see what it does. It's regenning like crazy going into this one, and a bit of turn. Whoa! And we've crashed. Yeah. Did you see that? Auto steer is aborting. That was a good test. Try it again. Oh, this is going to be good. I've gone a mile and I've already had it crash straight through the centre line, and auto steer is aborting. So it's, frankly, it's absolutely hooning into some of these bends. So I have got my foot covering the brake and my hands are on the wheel to be able to cover it. Again, it's braking far too late, and I actually felt the pedal, the brake pedal, apply itself then. I actually did have to dab the brake to switch that off. Entertaining as it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to restrict the speed to 50. Let's try a lower speed for the first part of this trip at 50 and see what it does. I suspect 50 is going to be a lot better, although again there are some bends on here where frankly 50 is too fast and you need to be down to 45, maybe even 40. So going down there at 50 and it's coping kind of, and then again it's going crashing into that one and not quite knowing what to do. This is a really bad bend, and we're going into it at 50, and only now is it hitting regen. But 43, 42, whoa, a load of brake, and we ended up at 35 on the back end. By the way, there is nobody behind me and there's nobody coming the other way, which is the only reason I'm actually testing it like this. Otherwise, I'd be dialing the speed down even more. I think the problem is it's not anticipating the bends. So it can see ahead, it's just not thinking, ooh, that's a tight bend, let's slow down. You know, here we've got a sign warning about oncoming bends, and it's not doing anything, it's still sitting at 50. Again, we go flying into that one, it has a bit of a panic and dabs a whole load of regen on mid-corner. Now you're not supposed to do that, you're supposed to brake before you get to the corner. You saw that? This is useless. I'm gonna have to knock it off for a minute because that's absolutely useless. Let's get through these two bends and then let's have another play, because honestly if it's going to carry on doing it like that, then this is going to be a fairly short experiment. There is actually now some traffic behind me as well, so I'm going to keep going for a little bit further. We've got a couple of junctions coming up where quite a lot of people often turn off, and we'll see if they go, and if they do, that gives us a bit more flexibility, shall we say, about using it on autopilot. So again, I can go back to 60 now. This will be fine for this section. These bends are doable, although maybe this one at 55. Let's pull it back to 55. Yeah, 55 is a bit more comfortable, but again, it is going right to the outside before it actually gets there. So 55 through these, yeah, that's okay. You have got to manually control your speed. You know, full autonomous driving is not about to land in my car on these roads. No sir. This feels more like a 50 to me, so I'm going to slow it down before we get there. And it goes around it absolutely fine, providing that you've set a speed that's actually sensible first. If you set the speed, then it's okay. If you haven't set the speed, then it's a bit exciting. Again, 50 around there, that's absolutely fine. You know, it's okay on some of these bends, but it is some of them. It's really not okay on quite a few others. I suppose 50 is a reasonable speed down here anyway. I maybe go a little bit faster on the straights in between the bends and slow down, but I really can't be bothered changing the maximum speed that's set. Although it's a bit sad that you actually have to do that. Whoa, whoa, you saw that? It went way, way over the line. Elon, what are you doing, man? Put it back on. At least it's doing it where it can run me across the line. It's not doing it where it can run me off the road completely and into a ditch. That's a beneficial feature. Right, pulling this all the way back now. Drop it to 40 because you can't go any faster than 40 through here anyway, but there's no way it's going to make it through here. So I'm going to have to manually intervene and pull it because we would have just gone basically straight across that one. So, and you can see the speed I'm doing around here. I'm doing, you know, 40 miles an hour without really a problem. But the car won't actually do it itself. You know, if I, no, it won't even let me re-engage. Now it will. Nope, it keeps disappearing. Try again. So if I re-engage this now, I mean, 40's probably quite slow for these, but we'll see how we get on. So you got this one coming up first. And again, it'll be absolutely fine through there. And then we've got another sweeping left, and then I'm going to speed it up. Yeah, I had to intervene then because it wasn't steering enough. Not quite sure what it's doing there, but I put it back on. And it will speed me up to 60, but obviously I've got slower traffic ahead, so we're going to follow them. Go, come on car. It's not accelerating as fast as it should be. It's just sitting there thinking about it. So I've actually had to put my foot on the throttle to encourage it to speed up, because we went through and it just sat there. Feels like we're going slightly fast into both of those, frankly. I've just overridden the steering and had to put it back on again. You often get this with sweeping bends, a left and a right, or a right and a left, and it just doesn't quite know what to do with them. So again, we're going into this, absolutely caning it in, frankly. You can go around it at 60, but I probably wouldn't want to. So let's pull it back a little bit to at least 55. And maybe a bit slower, and see what happens next. So max speed now set to 55. There is no way it's going to get around this next one at 55, and it is, you see, look, it's doing it now. It's hitting the regen before we get to the bend, but it's still not steering in properly. So it did slow us down properly before we got to that one, which is a good thing, because it definitely wasn't doing that before. It was just slamming into them and then mid-corner having a bit of a flap. You know, that at least hit regen first, but it still wasn't great. So yeah, 55's fine, but I'm disengaging it so that I slow down to the speed limit before I get there. Because it's the same thing where it would go crashing into a 30 absolutely at 60 if you let it. Did you see that? It tried to take me off into the right turn lane for no particular reason. I mean, I didn't end up cancelling auto steer by pulling a little bit corrective on the left, but it shouldn't be doing that. So there's several houses through this village where I wouldn't want to live, because if somebody gets it wrong, you're going to get a face full of car or truck. Right, parked car, this has no idea what to do. It will stop, which is why I'm going to have to put my foot on the throttle and move around it, because if I don't, it would literally just pull up in front of it. Again, I don't know whether that's just a basic autopilot thing, but it's not really useful in this kind of environment, and I can't even put it back on now because it's not showing me the symbol. It's still got cruise control set to a maximum of 30, which is fine, and looking at it, it slowed me down as we got through there. This is interesting. So I've got, right, what did it do then? So I've got the cruise control part of autopilot still running and set to 30, and I thought it was doing quite well in advance of that left-hand turn. And then we got into the middle of it, and suddenly it dumps a load of regen and starts stopping, and it's like, does it not know where we're going? Now I know where we're going, and I'm doing the steering, so it doesn't need to worry about that, but I don't think it knew whether we were supposed to be going left or right, and decided we were going to do neither. Coming down into Peterhead, it's still on autopilot. This road is pretty straight, so it's not really causing it any issues. Again, on this kind of road, especially if you're following traffic, it's absolutely fine. So we're going to have a little drive round. We will do a loop past the harbour and see what it does there. There's no markings at all in the middle, and it just meandered slightly. So went round the central island okay. The guy in front's doing no speed at all. It has no clue where it is. So because we've got no line in the middle, it didn't know what to do. So what it's done is it's lined itself up with the curb, which does make a lot of sense. But if you see now, we've got a parked car, and it's just slowing itself down unless I move it out. So I've had to disengage that part of it, and now it doesn't know where the curb is, and there's no line in the middle, so there's nothing for it to work on, which is why we've got no symbol there at all. I am still, however, on cruise control set to 30, but as you can see, it's still following vehicles and so on in front. So it's not going speeding off at 30, it's still a maximum of 30. So we're going to turn right up here, but we want the first right, not the second right. So down we go. Yeah, it's a bit narrow. Again, there's nothing really. Oh no, it's just come back on. But I'm going to get past this van first, because I need to wander out. So I can put it back on, but the problem is there's parked cars, and it's just going to go straight towards them and then slam the brakes on. Ooh, no, it steered around them. How about that? It actually steered around the parked vehicles. That is the first time it's ever done that. I'm very excited. That was fab. Okay. So the question is, if it can do that once, why can't it do that again? Yeah, it didn't like that. We were getting carried away with ourselves. It did something. It did a thing. And then we got excited. So let's have a look. Can we go past the cannon? Can we turn it back on anywhere down here? Amazingly, yes, we can. It's going to kind of the centre line, which isn't really there, so I've got to turn it off because that's going to be dangerous otherwise. So it's shouting at me and saying, take control immediately, vehicle departing lane. I'm not. I've put a wheel onto the white line, which is not a problem at all. Not the white line, the yellow line. It's fine. It doesn't need to throw quite as big a strop Anyway, let's carry on. So there's no lines of any description up here, so of course it's not going to work. I would be fascinated to know, and has anyone got any experience of using higher levels of autopilot, perhaps the American version of full self-driving, in this kind of environment? What does it do? I mean, this guy's just come straight towards me and shoved his hazard lights on because he's trying to park. How would FSD cope? What would it do? Because obviously here there's nothing for it to do, and it just goes, no. But if you've got it, what does it do? On our way now out of Peterhead, and again seeing how it copes with parked vehicles and traffic islands. Well, it's done the parked vehicles okay. Traffic island, we didn't hit it, so that's a positive. And then on our way out of town towards Fraserburgh. See, what Tesla should be advertising is that Autopilot is an adventure. Yeah, it's taking an ordinary journey and making it interesting and fraught with danger. And I don't know what this is going to do. You don't get that with other cars. So the speed limit's changing from 40 to 60. Again, I need to manually change that. So press and hold the right stalk, and then the max increases to 60 from 40. And then the car thinks about accelerating. It doesn't get on with it particularly quickly, which is fine, but if you've got people behind you and they want to get on with it, then you might have to give it a prod. Right, it's doing nothing until now when it's suddenly throwing a load of regen in. Oh, not enough regen. Right. It does have a problem with bends at times, because it's not like we were going dramatically fast when we got to the apex, but it's not steering quickly enough or frankly convincingly enough to make me want to trust it. You know, let's put it, shut up, let's put it back on again now. So even going around there at 37 miles an hour, it felt a little bit lost. It was kind of sitting in the middle and not quite knowing where to go. Here we've got a turn on the left and a bend, and it doesn't know what to do. You know, we've slowed down to 34 miles an hour, and there was no reason at all to slow to 34 miles an hour around that bend. But never mind. So even now it's a 60 limit, it's set maximum of 60, and we're doing 45, and we're not particularly accelerating, and I don't know why that is. Do I need to put my foot on the throttle a little bit to give it a dab? So I just literally put my foot on the throttle and then back off again very briefly, and it has encouraged it to start to accelerate very gently. I honestly just don't know what the rationale is about when it accelerates and how hard it accelerates and when it thinks it's going. Back in the office, and I've been doing a little bit of thinking, just like, you know, as I was getting out of the car and coming across. What exactly do I make of that? Because let's be brutally honest, Autopilot was not usable for most of that trip. The only reason I was really using it was to see just how unusable that it was going to be. So if you've got a nice wide open road, a motorway, a dual carriageway, anything where it's basically relatively straight and the curves are relatively gentle, then Autopilot's absolutely brilliant. But there's quite a lot of other systems out there that can do the same kind of thing as Autopilot. You know, I've used the Volvo system and the Hyundai Kia system fairly extensively, and the Tesla system is massively, massively better than both of those. Even though Pilot Assist in the Volvo I thought was pretty decent, Tesla just blows it away in terms of the way that it actually operates. But that's not what Elon is trying to base the future value of Tesla as a business on. He's trying to do that based on full automation, on autonomous driving, on your car parking up and then being used basically as a robot taxi for other people. And at the moment, certainly on the version of Autopilot that I've got at the moment, the standard one available in the UK, it's just rubbish in towns. in urban environments on any kind of twisty road. It's rubbish. It doesn't work. It's actually dangerous if you went off thinking the car will drive itself on those kind of roads. It's going to crash you off the road, into oncoming traffic, through speed limits, you name it, it's going to do it. So there really does need to be more development work on this. I have a look at a lot of other people's content where they talk about Autopilot and they're testing it in various environments, but I think really it works in America and it works on wide open roads, but outside of that, it's a bit limited. Plus, here's the other point. Do you really want to completely let the car take over everything? Look, on a motorway, in heavy traffic or poor weather or something, it's genuinely fantastic. It's got more cameras, more sensors, and I've got eyes. So it's seeing things that I can't see. So it's very, very useful there. But in towns where you've got all kinds of random obstacles and you've got broken up tarmac and you've got your cars parked here and kids running across the road, I just don't want to trust it. And that's kind of my point, really, to wrap this up, is I think we've got a long, long, long way to go before autonomous driving is a thing that we're all happy with. Because even if they get the technology right and they get the algorithms working properly and the AI and all of those other things, all it's going to need is one Tesla running over one kid and the legislative pile of bricks is going to come crushing it. And that's just the reality of things, I think. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. Like and subscribe, hit the bell icon, all of that usual yabba, yabba, yabba. And I'll see you very soon on the next one.